Tour of Oman. You ready, David, to dive in?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So Tour of Oman, David, it's been the same for pretty much ever since it was created back in what 2014, 15, made by the ASO. The way I best remember this race is Rafa Valls winning on the Green Mountain back when he was, I want to say, an absolute nobody. At least to me, he was. Then he went on to get a contract, and since then we haven't really heard much from him. What is Tour of Oman to you, David?
It is a frustrating race where you can't actually watch any of the coverage because for some reason they decide not to show it. It's quite good though because you have this weird. You're waiting for. You're on Twitter and you're
Yep.
scrolling, and you're just waiting for like the result or somebody usually has a camera at the finish line and then they'll show it. But it's weirdly frustrating, but amazing racing, like really, really good stages, fantastic preparation for the classics, couple of sprint stages, couple of kind of punchier stages, and then the Green Mountain, which is just,
Brutal.
yeah, really hard. I mean, anything that's over 5K, over 10%, yeah, most people wouldn't want to do that.
Nah, going through the stages, David, from stage 1 to what, stage 6, quickly brief through them so everyone knows what is awaiting. I think it's tomorrow the race starts, actually.
Yeah, we're on tomorrow. So stage one is the classic kind of sprint stage. Nothing's going to happen. Last 5K. We've got some big sprinters here. You know, we've got Cavendish, we've got Christoph. Those are the two kind of main guys. Colt Nielsen off of very, very strong results in Dubai. You know, these guys should be fighting it out for the sprint victory. We've got some kind of lesser sprinters here as well. You've got Brian Coquard, who's not really enjoying the best start to the season. Stage two is a really punchy stage where
They used
we've
this
had
last year.
yeah, they've used it in the last couple of years. So they've got the climb of Al Jizza, which is 1.6K, 8%, and that crest with 5K to go. Last year, on the morning of the race, they announced that they would finish the stage at the top of the climb, and they wouldn't come down the last 5 kilometres, which was I really can't understand why it was announced on the morning of the stage. Anyway, normally they descend down and we get a kind of small bunch sprint, but the climb is steep. Stage three, this stage hasn't been in it since 2012. Sagan won here. It's another dam wall like in Dubai, not as steep. It's about
Somewhere
900.
McNulty is getting like PTSD flashbacks.
What a poor boy! What a poor boy! So it's a stage that the sprinters would hope to be there for. However, yes, I suppose Sagan won 2012. A Christoph or somebody could potentially win. However, you're looking at rider like Van Avermaet who'll be there thinking, yeah, fancy that. Rui Costa,
Cord
some
Nielsen.
of, yeah, Colt Nielsen, definitely. So that's stage three. Stage four is the Ministry of Tourism stage that we normally get, which is we've got the climb of Bushehr Al Amarat 3 times, but from different sides. They do the hardest side once, which is 3.7K at 9.8%. The easier side, 2.8K at 9%. It's only 117 kilometres long, so it's bam, 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 attack, attack, attack. Fun stage, but the final climb does crest with it's about 15K to go, so it probably will all come back together and we'll get a sprint from about 30 riders. Then we've got the big Green Mountain stage, as I mentioned, 5.7K, 10.5% in the roasting heat of Oman. Not an easy climb at all. And then we finish up with the normal finish, which is Matra Corniche. It's a lap circuit, and we have a very short kicker of a climb within that circuit, and it stretches the whole bunch out, and it can be quite chaotic in the last kind of 2K.
So looking at the Green Mountain stage, how decisive is that going to be to the overall GC? Because last year, Ben Hermes was in a good spot due to the earlier stages where he gained time. But what's the likelihood of somebody breaking away in one of those difficult stages, but not really winning on the Green Mountain, if you get my question?
Yeah, I get your question. You would imagine that the Green Mountain will be pivotal. Last year they moved the Green Mountain stage kind of towards the end of the race, which is really good. It should be the decider. the GC favourites should really be able to follow the wheels on the harder kind of punchier days. They shouldn't lose any time. If they do lose time, then they're not really in the form to contend overall. I suppose the two big main climbers here are Nibali and Lopez, neither of whom you would think would win either of the early stages, but both of whom should most certainly finish with the bunch, and then it all comes down to a shootout on the Green Mountain and kind of winner takes all. That's the way I see it. I don't see somebody breaking away on one of the other stages, taking a minute and then holding on. But you just don't know. You just don't know. And we've seen before on the Green Mountain riders surprise with their climb. Nathan Haas last year was 10th. I think Visconti was 9th overall on GC. You could see a rider, a Van Avermaet, somebody who could get over the climb and limit their losses, but they would need to build up a huge advantage in the other days, and I just don't see it happening. So, big shootout to decide GC on the Green Mountain.
The bookmakers have just released their GC bets for this, and they have Nibali, Lopez, and Costa at the top. Out of those three, David, who do you favour the most?
Well, predicting a Nibali victory outside of a Grand Tour is almost like winning the lottery. Yeah. He's almost impossible to read. And just when you think he's going to peak, he'll go and finish dead last. It's so difficult. His start to the season was disrupted. He went all the way to Argentina. He caught food poisoning or a bug in the hotel, had to pull out that race. He was in Dubai recently riding well for Colbrelli. He looks thin. Now, kind of like a silly point, he's a cyclist, he's a mountain climber, they all look thin. But when Nibali is on form, you can usually tell he is like bone. There is just no fat on him at all. And to me, he looks like that. So, I'm bordering on the ridiculous here. I'm thinking Nibali's going to do something special, and that means he'll probably be last.
Looking at his team, though, he's got Visconti, he's got Izagirre. Both of them very capable of doing like a top 3 finish in this race.
Yeah, and we watched Visconti and Valenciana start the season really well. A talented rider who climbed well here last season. So they've got that kind of 3 options, which is good. But, Lopez, he's sensational. Think back to the Vuelta, 2 stage wins, 8th overall, in a season that was disrupted by injury. Again, he is a sensation. Without a shadow of a doubt, he's going to be a Grand Tour winner. He will be dominant in Grand Tours for years to come. It's fun to watch him develop and improve year after year. He starts the race probably the favourite, I would imagine. Astana already in a rich vein of form. They've got Luis Leon Sanchez going well. They had Moreno Moser taking a win in Italy yesterday. So Lopez will be very difficult to beat.
On that topic, real quick though, before we move on, David, we have a question about Vuelta Colombia Pass, what it was called. Yeah. Colombian cycling, David. The place is in right now with the riders from the nation, looking at Iran, Quintana, Bernal, Henao, Lopez, etc., Gaviria, etc., and also the nation. Are they, the question is, are they just going to take over in the next 5-6 years?
Yeah, I think they probably are. Listen, I watched the race and it was fantastic. The crowds were amazing. The route was okay. It was fairly balanced. Few sprint stages for Gaviria, and then we had the Colombian showdown. It wasn't the final stage, but the penultimate, the second from last, where you had that amazing picture of the 4 Colombians on the final slope. So there was Quintana, Uran, Henao, and Bernal all side by side. If you've not seen that photo, go and find it. If you go to Steep Hill, I'm sure you'll find it there. It's such an amazing picture. I spoke to Hugh Carthy, who was over there. He was saying that what an amazing place it was, and the fans were awesome, absolutely awesome. You saw them on the mountain stages. They were, crazy, almost a bit too close to the right
way, though.
But that race, I'm hoping it goes World Tour. It would be deserving of it, I would say, if they could put a little bit more money into it. They've got fantastic riders. Yeah, Colombian cycling is in a good place.
Rui Costa, I cut you off, David.
he was really good here last year. He was second. He can take bonus seconds on these punchier stages that we're talking about. He's a much faster finisher than, say, Nibali, for example. Last year, he was a very fast start to the season. I think he won a stage in San Juan. He was second here. He won in Abu Dhabi. This year, different beginning. He was over in Australia where he was just there to kind of get some training in, and now he comes here for UAE, obviously riding in their kind of local area. Important for them to have a good race. I would expect him to be challenging for the podium again.
Looking further down, looking at the outsiders for the GC, there are guys like Jesus Herrada, Nicholas Roach. If you go really far outside, I mean, there's even Fabio Fellini, who on a good day could go well here. If you look outside, David, who would your long shots be?
Fellini's definitely one I'm thinking of because of what I mentioned earlier about Haas and Visconti. You know, if Haas can finish top 10, Green Mountain, sure, Fellini can do the same. And he will be challenging on those punchier stages. Haven't seen him yet this season, but I would imagine he would be in good form. Very, very talented rider. Marhavi Kudus, another young talent. Now, he was fourth here last season, so he would hardly be a surprise to go and do something. But he's another one of these young climbers who we're looking at developing over the last couple of years. He should be ready to take that kind of next step forward. There are a few chances for some of the so-called smaller riders to do well. Looking, kind of further afield, we've got people like, say, who have we got? We've got Dan Pearson of Aqua Blue, or Mark Christian of Aqua Blue. Both riders are quite strong. Odd Christian Eichen has started the season well for Wanty. It's not a race where we have all the big teams. So it's just all the big riders. We have some World Tour teams, but we also have a number of the Pro Conti teams. And yeah, it will be good to see some of the so-called smaller riders have a chance to shine. Quick Step don't really seem to have a GC contender, but we all watched Dries Devenings go incredibly well in the Tour Down Under. Wollonga Hill, 3K at kind of 7-8%. Green Mountain's obviously a bit harder than that, but you just don't know. If he's got that really kind of strong form and he's managed to maintain it, then he could do something. It could do something special. Peter Weening, kind of always there or thereabouts, isn't he? So he'll either just go on a big breakaway ride or he might target GC. But yeah, I'm looking forward to some of the so-called smaller riders kind of go for top 10 this week.
Before we move on to a prediction of some sort, I did ask on Twitter if you have any questions, you the viewer out there, and I think we owe it to you guys because you gave us like 10 questions to at least go through some of them. So Iron Sor, the king of PFCL, he asks, so thoughts on Drucker versus Van Avermaet versus Bettiol and BMC. Who will BMC use in which stage, David? Drucker, Avermaet versus Bettiol.
I would imagine that Drucker will go for the flat sprints, so first stage and last stage, and then Van Avermaet will have free license in the punchy stages. And, they spoke about Roach possibly being the protected rider for the GC. Roach doesn't tend to start the season very strongly. So I think they will just wait to see what happens on the Green Mountain and they'll just go for it.
Same goes for Eddie Toons, Søren Kragh Andersen, and Max Walschild. Who are they going for in the sprints?
Walschild will be the sprinter for the flat days. Kragh Andersen will be the sprinter on the hilly days, and Edward will be there to get some racing in the legs.
And last but not least, there's a lot of heat on Brian Coquard. Him versus Manson. Who should they go for?
They have to show faith in Coquard. Not been the best start to the season for Coquard. He went to the Sharjah Tour and he was put in his place firmly by Marcheco. He then went to Bessages in second place and a third place. He's knocking on the door. Now, as we know, Coquard is usually very, very good in these smaller races and he struggles to take a win in the World Tour events. He will get it right. They've signed him. They've shown faith in him. They've got Manzin to lead them out. They've also got Chris Boekmans. They've got Kevin Reza. That's a strong lead-out team. Bert de Backer as well. They will continue to support their man. And Coquard, he will he will get the victory. We know he's quick.
That is, by the way, Bertie Bakker, top 10 Paris-Roubaix finisher. By the way, guys. Brian Coco would have actually gotten a win this year had he not messed up his celebration on the line, and he went on to Twitter saying afterwards, amateur mistake. So he would have had a win on the record. He just pulled a sabo. David, you know what time it is? It's time for the Kobayashi segment. Who, I believe I went first last time, so this time you can be the one who goes first. 167. That is Nick Schultz. How do you always get Kaya Real? Nick Schultz.
Australian. See, no hands. Not quickly checking on a certain website, Jesper.
I've got Nick Schultz so everyone else can see him up on the screen right now.
So Nick Schultz, really talented Australian. Rode at Kaya last year. Didn't really do a huge amount. Now, when you go to Kaya Rural, it's difficult for an English speaker. The first year is usually you're settling in season, pick up the language, get used to riding with these crazy Spaniards, get used to some of their old school methods. And now he's looking to do something special this year. He's on a 2-year contract, so it's important for him this season to do well. Talented climber, so he could well be a surprise rider on the Green Mountain.
Oh, I'm nervous now. It's my turn, David. 160. Oh, there's no 69 in this.
No.
120, which I don't believe there is either on the list because it starts at 1. We'll go to 110. There's no one either. 161. That is Yanis Usad of Caja Real. I will honestly admit, this is the first time I've seen Yanis Usad's name on a start list. So once again, we should, David, you know what? We should come up with a forfeit. If you cannot say anything about a rider, you should do some sort of punishment.
Do you want me to help you with Yanis?
Before you do that, in the chat, guys, come up with a forfeit for the Kobayashi segment going forward, because there will be more times like this where Yanis Ushad comes up and poor Jess Branco will not know who it is. So come up with a forfeit, some sort of punishment in the chat. David, please lend a hand.
Fast man. Rode with the army team in France last season. He can win from sprints, and he's a bit of a kind of tough man sprinter.
It's a funny mix they've got at Caja Real. They got a Frenchman, a Spaniard, Italian, Uruguayan, Spanish, American, Australian. Like, I thought they were Spanish.
Yeah, they still have a huge Spanish core to the team, but you've got to remember that they lost a lot of talented riders over the last kind of 3 seasons. So they lost Hugh, they lost Bilbao, they lost Fraile, they lost Barbero. So straight away, you know, they had their heart ripped out. Arroyo, he didn't retire, but he's moved to continental level now because he was getting a bit too old. So they lost a huge amount of really, really talented riders. And to be honest, they're struggling to replace them. They will always gamble on kind of younger riders coming through, and they will just hope that the gamble pays off. So, yeah, I've got a lot of time for Caja Rural. And I've even got one of their cycling tops upstairs in my wardrobe.
Oh, I remember that gif of that video I made last year. Your face, David, went from like preview. Oh, I just threw out my headphones. It went from preview mode to like, oh look, you Carthy Caja Real. That is still one of my favorite videos laying around. So, David, prediction time. Since you went first with the Kobayashi segment, I'll go first with a prediction. It does come down to 3 riders: Lopez, Costa, and Nibali. You can't go with Nibali when it's not a Grand Tour, or Lombardia. You can't go with Nibali. And if it's not raining, you can't go with Costa. So that leaves one option. It's Miguel Angel Lopez. I think he'll be fine. He is probably the only one of these 3 that I would trust this early in the season. Over to you, David.
Yeah, I am going there. Nibali to win. I know you're screaming at me now. I know it's not a Grand Tour. I know he's the hardest rider to predict outside of Grand Tour. I'm still going Nibali.
That is a fair no. Go over, if you want more information, go to ciclismointernational.com. Read David's full preview on Tour of Oman. Will you be doing daily stages, David?
No, daily stages from Andalusia.
Oh, that starts on Tuesday. No, Wednesday. More good racing coming also at Algarve. Don't know if it's going to be previewed on here, guys, but anyway, stay tuned on Twitter, stay tuned on Facebook, more information coming. I hope this sheds some light on Tour of Oman. I hope you guys will be watching on Twitter and the late highlights. My name has been Jess Branker. I'm joined by the always great David Hunter, who is now at 4,000 followers on Twitter. Everybody, we'll see you guys next time.